Sometimes you don't want to search for individual search terms like star or Trek or wars. You want to search for phrases that are search terms together in a certain order, like Star Trek or Star Wars. So let's talk about phrase search and how that works in Elasticsearch and some creative ways of using it as well. So a phrase search is pretty easy to do if that's all you need to do. Just search for two terms together in the same order. All you need to do is say match_phrase as your query instead of just match. It's just that simple. So this example here would do a phrase match against the phrase Star Wars in the title. It's just that simple. And the way this works is that in your inverted index, it doesn't only store that a given search term occurs inside a document, it also stores the order in which those terms occur. So it can actually use that information about the ordering of the occurrence of each term to piece together where phrases exist. So that's how it works under the hood. Very easy to use, but there are some more complex ways of using phrase search that let you do some pretty cool things. So let's say that you care about the order of search terms, but you don't care if they're exactly together, right next to each other. There's something called the slop value, and the slop represents how far you're willing to let a term move to satisfy a phrase in either direction. So if I were to say, for example, I want to search for quick fox, but I wanted the phrase quick brown fox to actually still match, I could say quick fox with a slop of 1. And for example, by saying Star Beyond with a slop of 1, that would actually match Star Trek Beyond, but it would also match Star Wars Beyond if such a film existed. So if you want to have a little bit of, well, slop for lack of a better word, where you can have different words within your phrase, the slop value can let you do that. It can also let you do things like allow reversal of a phrase. So actually Star Beyond would actually match Beyond Star if the slop were set to 1. Sometimes that can come in handy. It can also come in handy if you're just trying to do basically a proximity query, where maybe it's not really a phrase you're searching for, but you want to give higher relevance to documents that have these two terms close together. So you could do something like this. Let's say that I want to just get back results in order of relevance where star and beyond appear close together. If I said Star Beyond with a slop of 100, for example, a really high number, that would give me back any document that has the terms star and beyond within 100 terms of each other, but it would assign a higher relevance score to documents that have them closer together. So that can come in handy as well. You know, there are examples where you might want to search for two terms and not necessarily require that they're right next to each other, but the closer they are, the better. And that's where a proximity query like this would come in. Let's actually dive in and do this hands-on. So let's play around with phrase search and actually run those examples we saw in the slides. We'll start with a straight up phrase search where we just want to find movies that contain the phrase Star Wars, where we're requiring that those two terms appear next to each other in that order. It would look like this: curl-x get 127.0.0.1:9200 movies, movie, just like always, underscore search, question mark pretty / d, just like any search query will begin with the following JSON body. We are going to have a query that is a match query. So in this example, we're going to start off with not doing a phrase search and see how that works. Title, Star Wars. So this might be the naive thing that you do if you're trying to search for Star Wars and you don't know about phrase search. And you can see it does some weird stuff. It's actually giving you back anything that contains the term star or contains the word wars, with just a higher relevancy score assigned to movies that have both in it. So you can see that Star Wars came back with a higher score than Star Trek did, but you know, you might not have expected to get Star Trek in your results at all, because you might have thought in your head, I'm searching for Star Wars movies, not Star Trek movies. So this is an example of where phrase search might be what you really want. Now, I mean, it's still kind of doing the right thing here. It gave you back Star Wars films first, but if you really only want Star Wars, you would want to do a phrase search. And that looks very similar. We can just hit the up arrow to go back here. All we need to do is change the match query to a match_phrase query. So let's do that. And now I should only get the Star Wars movie back. Sure enough, I did. So that's how match phrase works. It's just that simple. All you have to do is use match_phrase instead of match for the query type and enter in your phrase. Now let's look at that example of using slop. So let's do that Star Beyond example. Let's again hit up arrow just to save us some typing and change the title to actually contain an expression here. So not just a given phrase. We're going to say title : new JSON block here with a query embedded within that. Star Beyond with a slop of 1. So that's what the syntax looks like. Again, the syntax can be kind of cryptic. Often you need to refer back to the documentation to get it right. But this is what it looks like for specifying a slop value. So what this will do is give us back any documents that contain the terms star and beyond that are separated by at most one term in either direction. So that should match star trek beyond, because star beyond is in there within a distance of 1. And sure enough, it worked. So there you have slop. Finally, let's look at the example of doing a proximity query. There's nothing really special about that. The only thing is that you would specify a very high slop value. So for example, 100. And we'll get back the same results here because our data set is small. But what that would do differently is that any document that contains the terms star and beyond within 100 terms of each other would actually come back. But the documents that have those terms closer together would have a higher score, a higher relevance score. So that's a proximity query in action. And that's it. That's phrase search. That's all there is to it. A couple of ways to abuse it as well by using the slop value. So that's a useful tool as well. There you have it.